I introduce myself.
Yeah.
Okay, my name is Leo Zagami. I'm 37 and this is my story. My story goes back to the fact that because of my family tradition I joined various secret societies during the course of my life, and I found myself involved in what is known as the New World Order. The New World Order is for some people a way to implement fascism on a global scale. To do this they want to use technology, they want to use means like microchipping and also surveillance technology to control all aspects of our life. We find ourselves in front of this every day when we go around and we get video surveillance everywhere these days, so we don't have any more privacy. Everything is in the hands of the big brother, and this big brother is in the hands of the police, of the military police, of the intelligence, military and civil intelligence, and they are all working these days not for the governments but for the corporates who are keeping together this big business together with certain families and certain banks that have done this for a long time. Well, my personal experience. I can talk about my personal experience. I was initiated on the 13th of April 1993 in Rome. It was a peculiar time in Italy because the P2 Lodge scandal had erupted and Freemasonry was in turmoil. Grandmaster Giuliano Di Bernardo, who is now the Grandmaster of the Academy of the Illuminati in Rome, split from the Grand Orient of Italy and was forming his own Gran Loggia Regolare d'Italia, which was the only one recognized by the United Gran Lodge of England. And I found myself initiated by Prince Alliata di Monreale, which is an Italian aristocrat who goes back a long time with his family and my family. We have a relationship of a few hundred years and even some relatives in common. And he is the head, or used to be the head because now he's deceased, the head of the Order of the Sword and the Eagle, which was a Masonic order which I came to belong to. And then he also let's say directed me to what was to become the Monte Carlo Lodge, the Committee Monte Carlo, which was already a lodge and was to become a committee, a Masonic Executive Committee in 1999 that was to have people from all the various Masonic obediences, chivalric orders, secret societies, and work in a way above all these structures as a superstructure within the structure of the Illuminati, with this base in Monte Carlo, and Ezio Giunchiglia, who was the treasurer of the P2 Lodge, had this in mind, and the P2 Lodge position as treasurer was a very important one because the P2 Lodge also was connected with the Vatican Bank and with Monsignor Marcinkus, the very big character who was also died recently and was involved with the scandal of the Vatican Bank that erupted more than 20 years ago and involved Roberto Calvi, that ended up killed in Blackfriars Bridge, under Blackfriars Bridge in London in 1982.
Have you personally witnessed some people talk about how do you know this thing?
Yeah, for example, I gave you a book before, Universal Unity, in which there is a mention of the microchipping and the great benefits it will bring to the people in charge, because they can control everybody without really having to be there. You know, you can also control the whole prison population, put them in isolation in an island, leave them there, just control them by microchip, and you don't have to anymore even have a prison if you have everybody microchipped.
it would be like a global prison.
It would be a global prison in which certain people will be punished simply by not having the possibility to have this or this other service if they are bad boys.
Wouldn't like a one world government it could be something positive also, like?
Yeah, one world government could be a positive thing if it was in the hands of people who were clean, people who were of clean principles, and who believe in God, who have a positive way of viewing their fellow citizens. But this doesn't happen because the minority is more and more scared of what the majority is thinking. And so they're always more and more attached to their own inheritance, what they have inherited for hundreds and thousands, for thousands of years. They have an inheritance, they don't want to leave it to the people. They want to keep it, they know they have this force, especially with the banking system. People like Rockefeller, Rothschild, driving banking forces which are way above the imagination of a normal guy. And these forces are the ones who are really behind the wars and behind all the international situations we are living today, especially around this false flag terrorism and this terrible situation of 9/11, which is basically blaming the Islam when in reality it's being created by the CIA together with the Vatican Knights of Malta and with people who are inside a totally different structure from what people can imagine, and instead they blame it on the Islam. Islam is innocent, is not to be in any way connected to people like Al-Qaeda. Al-Qaeda is not Islam. Al-Qaeda is being created by the agents of the West. That's why it's part of the Wahhabi conspiracy against Islam, because the Wahhabis is a form of Islam that is being created by the Zionists and by the British agents. And the Wahhabis are the ones in charge of the Holy Land of Islam, though, in this moment of time. So we have very much a conspiracy that is driven by all these heads of the religions who are not honest with their people, and especially with certain religions who are being corrupt.
So I've also said that the 9/11 and the war on terrorism is about bringing this new world order.
Yes.
Can you?
Yeah, for me the experiment started a long time ago. After the war, they brainwashed the population of Europe, the Americans, with the American dream, with the first program called the Magnetize, used by the OSS, then became the CIA. Then they started with these programs of mind control. We know obviously of MK Ultra, mind control ultra. They inherited these programs of mind control from the Germans, the SS. They used these programs. They inherited the worst experiments and the worst technology that could be used against humankind to literally create robots. And amongst all this, there was also the fact that the certain secret societies had been behind the creation of Nazism. And these secret societies were still powerful and in control in America, like the Skull and Bones in Yale University, and like the OTO, for example. And these secret societies that have worked to create from the beginning one world order have already worked through the First World War, the Second World War, and now they are working on a Third World War, because that's what they have already predicted from the start.
Strategy of tension before the so-called war on terrorism seems to be just a continuation of that. Is that a basic strategy of the elites?
Yeah, the strategy of tension in Italy was there with Principe Borghese, with a whole period we had in Italy in the 70s with the Red Brigades. We had numerous bombings, like the bombing of Bologna, the bombing in Strage Piazza Fontana. We had these episodes in Italy which are all interconnected with the secret services, the P2. The P2 had a big chunk of secret service operatives inside, and still has. in the Monte Carlo Lodge. So basically, the heads of certain the departments of the Secret Service and even the Secret Service head himself was inside the lodge. So at that point, dependent from a grandmaster who could ask all kinds of favors. At that point, it's the grandmaster who calls the shots. In that case, Licio Gelli has always called the shots. And the strategy of tension started with these experiments like the Bologna bombing, and then ended up with the 9/11. It's the same kind of psychology, just enlarged. You know, first there were bombings on a smaller scale, then they made this big Hollywood spectacle for the people that had to be 9/11. Obviously, it had to be a big American show. It had to be a bit, the detonations were right on spot, so they fall down these twin towers in that way. Probably these Arabs who were totally brainwashed and led to believe God knows what participated to some extent to the hijackings, but we are led to believe that it was remote control, the whole thing, so there was not really much they could do. This also imaginary battle on top of Flight 93 with all this. It's all fiction, you know. There was definitely a big attempt for America to create a stage show for the apocalypse, for something apocalyptic, and they followed also the Zohar, which is a book, a Jewish book, the Book of Splendors, in which the 9/11 attack is detailed also in the day and the year, exactly when it will happen in a big city. So they picked up from a holy book the most holy date for this event to happen. It was already written in the book, in the Zohar. So at that point, obviously, the Jews didn't go to work because the rabbis warned them in advance that the Twin Towers that there would be something coming down that day. It would be very dangerous to go to work.
So what reason, like this is very serious charges, like would you be willing to go to court to testify about things you have like seen or witnessed?
Yes, absolutely. I would like to witness, to be a witness of how these secret societies, especially the various secret societies involved in Satanism, have infiltrated every other form of today of clubbing, like the Rotary, the Lions Club, the Freemasons. These have all been infiltrated and now controlled by the Satanists. The Satanists are in control of this of the Western mentality of wanting to belong to a secret society for some particular reason, and that particular reason is in Western men a sense of pride in belonging to these societies. You know, that's why they give themselves grand titles, grand names, but I will be definitely ready to witness what I saw in regards to this lobby of people on the top who really doesn't care much of what happens below, but they are in control of the life of millions of people below by the decisions. And in the Monte Carlo committee, they were talking about controlling Grand Lodges like they were talking about controlling, I don't know, a picnic, you know, something very easy for them. They were controlling this Grandmaster, this other Grandmaster, what should we do with this secret society, this other secret society, the Ordo Templi Orientis, the Rosicrucian, the Martinist, all this network, the synarchic way of the empire, which was also envisioned by the Ordo Martinist synarchic. And these are also where the famous protocols of the Saves of Zion comes out from. And this ambiance in which you have a conspiracy that usually is only blamed on the Jews, but it's much more complicated than that, because there is the Wahhabi involved, for example, the Emirates, the Arab Emirates, and all the Wahhabi various emirs and who are in control of the Emirates, and that is also part of the conspiracy, together with the Zionists, together with the Vatican. So we have a network, an invisible network of people that is only known to by initiation, because when you receive the Masonic light, then you can accede into the temple, the Masonic temple. And that is how it is also for the other secret societies that take from the Freemasons and want to then expand their projects in specific directions. So they have the Società Rosicruciana in Anglia and England, which also is the Illuminati, because the Illuminati are called in various ways. We can't call them only, there is not just an order of the Illuminati, because Adam Weishaupt in 1776, he created something that was already there. He created another order of an order that was already there, specifically to bring out this order of the Illuminati in the open, and to give them an image. But there was already, for a long time in Freemasonry, always known as the Illuminati, the Rosicrucians. They were the real Illuminati who were guiding the lower levels. Because from the upper levels they use metaphysical means. The metaphysical world, in a way, serves them because they want to brainwash people. They want to put symbols in their heads. They want to brainwash them with this symbol, with this ritual, with this... and this happens why? Because we have genes, we have entities, demonic entities at the top that are really guiding these people, like the guide Michael Aquino, Lieutenant Colonel Michael Aquino. We talked about him before this interview. And Michael Aquino is a typical example of how the CIA has used black magic and is not really very scared of saying that they are involved with Satanism and things like this. They are quite open about it. How can you be open about Satanism? It means that you are a sick society. If you are in your army, in your military intelligence, you have people that are involved with Satanism, and at such a high level, especially in the programs of mind control, because you are using this, you are manipulating people under you, and you are creating more and more control over people using this genie technology. What is genie technology? Something that normal people don't know about. It's a metaphysical technology. It's not physical. It's made out of something that is untouchable. You can't touch these forces, but these negative forces can influence you, and they're magnetic. They are. That's why you have also ARP. You have also weapons made to influence your magnetic circles around you. My personal experience, I was involved in the Rotary Club International Division with the Commandante Giorgio Ugo Ballestrieri, who is involved in the United Nations Rotary Club, which is a very important division of the Rotary Club. And these people that are doing business inside the United Nations, for me, are literally giving a false facade about doing something for benefit of the world, but in reality they are working against the citizens below, because they think that the elite will always prevail. The elite always goes to those nice, good schools. The elite always marries between each other. They maintain the blood very close among certain families, so they can keep the power together and the structure together. And the elite on the top is not of a particular religion because they are Satanists, so they are fundamentally atheists. The Satan likes to play tricks with men and to make them think they are in control, and actually the greatest trick that he can play on men is to make them believe it doesn't exist. So for these people on the top level, it's very easy to become atheists and to use this at their advantage.
Basically, you talk about conspiracy, yeah, but don't we have like a democracy, or like we have elections and things like that?
Well, we have a facade which is dedicated to the normal people, to the mass, to make them happy, create a democracy that reflects really the need of the people to feel free in some way, even when they are not really free. Because obviously if they realize the power that these structures have upon their daily life, they will probably rebel. So everything is made in a way to make them believe the contrary of what is actually happening. And I think that the structure of Freemasonry is at the lower level one of the most important structures, but then you have to go up to the Illuminati societies, the various secret societies involved at the top, to get to the people who are really manipulating the whole thing. And those people are the usual families of Zionists and the Vatican who is supporting them. So you have these people who want to implement the New World Order are a series of knights from the knighthoods recognized by the Vatican, like the Knights of the Holy Sepulchre or the Knights of Malta, the Knights of St. John. These knights are all part of the secret services in America, in the CIA, in the MI6, in the MI5, in England. So these people who belong to these intelligence services have double loyalty, not only to their country but also to a holy order they belong to, and that holy order is under the control of the Pope and under the control of the various leaders of these knighthood orders. There is many knighthood orders also outside of the Vatican that control all sorts of parts of the aristocracy. We have the Royal Order of the Garter in England, which includes all the members of the various European aristocratic bloodlines that are more or less all interconnected with each other. And then you have, for example, for the Austrians, also the Teutonic Knights still exist. And we can say that all these knighthoods have, in a way, they function as a military structure, invisible military structure that is not in the eyes of everybody, but only in the eyes of the people who know what is the significance of this cross put in a certain way, or this other color for this other garment, or whatever. They use special crosses, symbols to recognize each other, like they do in Freemasonry with the square of the compass. Is the most basic thing. Then you have many other degrees and many other symbols to wear, or many other knighthood orders that are connected also to Freemasonry. Freemasonry is born out of the knighthood orders as a necessity to also involve the lower sides of the Western society in this pyramid, and to make them all involved. That's why in England, for example, you have almost, well, in Great Britain, in the whole Great Britain, almost 500,000 Freemasons. So you have not an elitarian society, but a big society with an elite that sits in the center, ruling all these people. And they literally rule them by the stick, and they control them. And certain lodges are involved with for example, like the Quote Coronati in the rebuilding of King Solomon's Temple, in what is a project that they want to have, despite of all the problems that this might create. And they have already, with actually Di Bernardo, founded the lodge after the killing of Isaac Rabin. And this lodge is in the Temple Mount, just near the mosque, and near the one of the most holy, say, shrines of Islam in Jerusalem. And they also happen to do these rituals in secret under what is now the Al-Aqsa Mosque. There is some tunnels built where there was the old temple of King Solomon. And in these tunnels and in these secret places, they activate these ceremonies with high priest, high priestess, and they really are into pagan worship, these ancient family lines, especially from Europe, because this they think this is their origin, and so to respect their origin they have to be pagan worshippers of these specific cults. The drug trade is absolutely connected to the elite. I was even witness to how the elite traded with weapons, like the P2 Lodge, people like the Lodge of England, with the weapon trade, but also with the drug trade in South America, in Cancun, Mexico, bringing the drugs in with the CIA through Colombia, Bolivia, down into Mexico, then into America, and this is always done with the help of and the supervision always of the CIA and of the NSA and those agencies that are supposed to work for us, but are interested that this drug trade goes on because it involves the weapon trade, it involves certain kinds of exchanges, so it's all interconnected, so it becomes all legal. They are working within on the boundaries, really on the edge with legality. So they're always trying to find a way just in between.
What's the European Union connection and what's going on in Brussels?
The European Union was born, as we know, with the Treaty of Rome. That already should make you understand that it's born in Rome, territory of the Vatican. There is a treaty there. The Treaty of Rome gives birth to this new entity, which is part of is working under the American establishment, because the European Union has never the strength to rebel against anything that America says or American decides for them. The European Union is a way also of implementing the one-world government, to take over the frontiers, take away the frontiers, take over the borders, and to found a one-world government. So it's one way closer, to unify America, Europe, and they want to unify and destroy the borders because they want to control more people. And in Europe we have the possibility of controlling millions of people now with the European Union. For example, we were promoting Turkey, the situation in Turkey. They organized last year, 2 years ago, a meeting for all the Grand Lodges of the Klipsas to meet in Istanbul. And this because they want to now get Turkey inside Europe. So the lodges of Freemasons move with their businesses, their Rotary clubs, their network, trying to embrace this whole, because when you're talking about Europe, Europe is a state made out of states, but for me Europe is made out of corporates that rule Europe, and out of banks that rule Europe. You have I don't know, HSBC here, or you have it there, you have it, and they want to expand now to Turkey, and now Turkey is the next big thing, because it's not Christian country, but at the same time they want to, the Pope wants to have control over the whole of Europe, so it's making their own, implementing their own ways of wanting Turkey into Europe. They want to say, at my own conditions. You can have Turkey into Europe only if you follow our Christian heritage, our own way, our own knighthoods, our own network. Freemasonry is very big in Turkey, and that's why, unfortunately, there is many problems. This is since the founder Ataturk founded modern Turkey. Freemasonry has always been very big there, and it's been working on behalf of the English Grand Lodge to destroy what was left of the Ottoman Empire, and to, in a way, create a country that could filter the Muslim extremism for them, and function as a dialogue state with the countries of the Muslim region. So for them it's very important to have Turkey inside at this moment of time.
What made you leave these secret societies?
Yeah, well, I was from October 2003, I started to experience clashes with the Illuminati within the Ordo Templi Orientis, which is one of the most known society of Illuminati, connected to Aleister Crowley, connected to Theodore Royce. This secret society was born after Crowley and these people expanded it in various ways through the high degrees of Freemasonry. At the beginning it wasn't Crowley who founded it, but it was a group of Germans and Austrian Freemasons who were trying to, let's say, bring again with Leopold Engel, this character from Austria, to bring again the Illuminati into a certain, let's say, follow the tradition of Adam Weishaupt and re-establish the Illuminati in the traditional way. For the German tradition, obviously, we're talking about. But the Ordo Templi Orientis got founded out of these practices in the high degrees of Freemasonry, connected also with sexual magic, because they practice obviously black magic, and inside and within the black magic they practice, there was also this sexual magic that Crowley was promoting as a prophet of a new aeon. In 1904 he got revealed by Ivas, this messenger of Horus, this book of the law, and this book of the law was dictated to him while he was in Cairo by an entity. The wife, Rose, got possessed by a genie, by a demon in Egypt, who started to talk through her. Crowley was then interviewing her to understand who this entity was. And Crowley himself made a choice within the Illuminati movement that not anybody had made before then. Because yes, they were practicing Luciferianism, they were practicing Satanism, but Crowley wanted to impersonificate 666, to be the real anti-Christian figure of his day, and to become the founder of this new religion of Telema. Love is the law, love under will, and do what thou wilt should be the whole of the law. This was his mottos. And it became very popular between the high degrees of Freemasonry because he had many connections with Italy, Frosini, Regini, with England, with John Yarker, who was this high degree Memphis and Mizraim Freemason, this Illuminati, who said to Crowley, you are in charge of now the high degrees of Freemasonry and the temple within the high degrees of Freemasonry, the inner sanctum of the high degrees of Freemasonry. Obviously, not all Freemasons accepted what Crowley was promoting, because it was very anti-Christian and some people had problems with it. But Crowley became a Freemason, a regular Freemason in the Grand Lodge of France, in the Anglo-Saxon Lodge in Paris, and he also tried to promote a repacification between the Grand Lodge de France and the United Grand Lodge of England. This repacification never happened because there is a traditional break of two of Freemasonry between the Jacobins and the Stuarts, the people who follow the House of Hanover, who follow these days were represented by the Windsor, who is the United Lodge of England, and the Jacobites who used to follow the Stuarts and the Scottish royal family, and after became these two schools became the Scottish Rite, and the other one was the Royal Arch and Emulation. Let's say these two different schools of Freemasonry opposing each other in a way. But after, they are all on top with each other, you see, because all these groups at the end up with a monarch in charge. That monarch is usually under a specific rule is always interconnected in one way or another with Rome, with the Vatican, because it's part of the sacred Roman Empire that never broke, really. The Ordo Templi Orientis is an organization that these days has various schools. There is the Swiss school, which is close to the Theodoreus and is more close to the Illuminati and the Freemasons' traditional way of becoming a Freemason, going through the high degrees and becoming an OTO member. Then you have OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis Caliphate, which is instead a modern version picked up by Americans from Crowley's work, using Crowley's rituals. And this is a particularly satanic group that is also interconnected with the Church of Satan. This Book of the Law, which is a terrible book in the sense that is saying terrible things against the Christians, the Jews, the Muslims, and really literally making tabula rasa of all religions, because Crowley is really the ultimate Illuminati. He wants to put the Illuminati order on top of all religions and create his own religion with it. That's why he wants to create this religion of Telem. For the Satanist on the street who wants to join it's like becoming a Boy Scout of the occult. You want to join the Caliphate OTO, you become an occultist, and you get introduced in this network of Illuminati. So actually, joining the Illuminati and becoming their slave is not so difficult, because it's many secret societies that are connected to the Illuminati network and that are, in a way, ruled by them. So if you know a bit your history and your Masonic history, you can definitely find which are these societies that you should approach in order to find more enlightenment and to be introduced after into the... Obviously you have to have a certain degree of loyalty. They have to trust you before they can give you certain papers, a certain knowledge, and they can give you the degrees that they are giving out, like becoming a 3390, 95 of the Memphis and Mizraim is one of the biggest things for them, because the Memphis and Mizraim is the rite of the Illuminati, even more than the Scottish Rite. It brings you across those degrees that the Scottish Rite only hints upon, because it goes on the Egyptian esoterica, it goes into the Gnostic field, the Gnostic church. So it has all parts of knowledge that the Scottish Rite doesn't give you. It gives you in more detail. And that's why the Memphis and Mizraim is the rite of people like Garibaldi in Italy, who were one of the founders of modern Italy.
Okay. Regarding this Satanism that in the elite circles, like there has been surfacing a lot of stories or rumors and testimonies that there is like a human sacrifices and like criminal activity, like.
Yes, what I found out is that especially in the Memphis and Mizraim rite of Freemasonry, this is a specific rite of Freemasonry, I said Egyptian rite, not counting the Egyptian rite of Cagliostro, which is another rite called also the Egyptian rite, which is also practiced by these people who practice in Memphis and Mizraim. The Memphis and Mizraim were two separate rites. They were unified by Garibaldi. But their still practices also separate by some groups. This Memphis and Mizraim brings the degrees up to 97 and even to 100. And in these degrees, as I said, the knowledge is all of black magic and knowledge also of sexual magic, how to use the sexual act as for creating magical child, but also for creating special amulets, special elixirs, all kinds of things that are connected with the use of sex for these magical rituals. Like I was saying, the Memphis and Mizraim particularly is connected with Satanism. So, a lot of Satanists, like even Anton LaVey himself, who wasn't particularly very well knowledge when it came down to Freemasonry, but still they viewed the Memphis and Mizraim as something external from the rest of Freemasonry, who was in itself an esoteric rite and an order that represents the Illuminati in a totally different ways, that because in the Memphis and Mizraim, especially in the Illuminati lodges that are really hardcore, they don't even use the Bible or any holy book that is not one of their ancient books from ancient Babylon, ancient Egypt. They don't use Jewish, Christian or Muslim references in any way.
Like in normal Freemasonry.
Normal Freemasonry, the two pillars of Freemasonry, the Jewish, the Christian, the hidden pillar is the Muslim pillar, and you have always a connection to the Muslim beliefs if you are in a Muslim country, if you are in a Christian country with Christian beliefs. Like for example in Scandinavia is only Christian Masonry practice, apart from Finland, but the rest of Scandinavia is the Scandinavian Rite, the Swedish Rite, which is only for Christians. So if you are not a Christian, you can't join Freemasonry in Scandinavia. This is not the same for other countries in the world, where actually you can be even an atheist if you join the Grand Orient of France, for example. So Freemasonry is very adaptable to the people and to the place they are living in. So it adapts. It's like something that adapts in order to rule in many ways.
Can you name some famous Freemasons like who are active in the world politics today that people wouldn't normally or people
Yes.
don't know?
For example, first of all, we have the father of George Bush, George H. Bush. We have the son of George Bush, who is initiated in the Skull and Bones. We have John Kerry, also initiated in the Skull and Bones. We have people like Kissinger, who used to be in the P2 Monte Carlo Lodge, and is still a very powerful character in world politics. We have people like Gordon Brown or Tony Blair. Gordon Brown was decided to be a prime minister. I remember already when I was in Kirby Lodge in October or November 2003, I already knew that Gordon Brown would become prime minister. That they were using Tony Blair for a period of time until they needed him, and then they would just flush him down the toilet and replace him with somebody that they think was more suitable for the moment. So Gordon Brown was already there at that time. This was said to me by people in Kirby Lodge 2818, was a lodge full of bankiers, people from banks. It was a lodge founded by the Bank of England, and I was part of it for a period of time. It was one of the many lodges I became part of during my course of my years in Freemasonry, because my previous mentor, Principal Liada, said you have to be basically understanding that Italian Freemasonry is divided in many different sections, many different branches. There is many Grand Masters. So the best thing you can do is to go to England and become a member of the United Grand Lodge of England in order to regularize your position. And I did that, which was an experience, but I was also very disappointed because I found out that the so-called regular Freemasons were instead connected with the OTO and with the Satanists, and they actually, when I started attacking the Satanists and the OTO openly, they obviously kicked me out, or wanted to kick me out. I didn't at that point want in any way to go in front of a tribunal. I was pretty happy to go out of a lodge if I wasn't in good standing, and if I didn't want to be anymore in the company of certain people. I prefer to go just to another lodge. There's many lodges you can go. In Italy I belong to the Gran Loggia Unita Tradizionale. I participated to meetings of the Gran Loggia dell'Unione, to the Grand Oriente d'Italia di Piazza del Gesù. I was guested by the Grand Orient of Italy in Florence, by the College of Worship of Masters. So I had my own experiences, and I went around and checked for myself. But I saw that in this modern time, there is not really any Western masters. There is more or less a lot of fraud people that are nothing consistent, but they're only calling themselves masters on paper, and that's where they take their power from, the big titles on paper, but they were not really people I could call masters. In all this, there's also the fact that there's Satanism present more and more on all levels of the pyramid. And me as a person, I didn't feel comfortable with Satanism anymore. And when I saw that there was a contact where there wasn't supposed to be contacts in certain parts of the pyramid, where I saw that the Satanists like the Ordo Temporientis Caliphate, but also the Ordo Temporientis Fraternitas Hermeticas Luciferiana, Ordo Temporientis Antigua, all the various Ordo Temporientis were all present in the high levels of the Illuminati structure, and they had very much to say. So I saw that the Satanists were very much in control of Freemasonry, and through that they controlled the various sectarian activities like the Temple of Set, the Church of Satan. These are inferior levels, that they are controlling. Just so they control people from the guy who is playing in the black metal, death metal band, and what he's saying, to the head of a company. They are totally different people, so you need a different network of Satanists to reach certain people. There is the typical Satanist who goes around dressed in black, but that's not really the Satanist who you should fear. The Satanists you should fear are the ones who are dressing up normal, who have a nice job, kids, going around a professor of university. These are people who are very actually from the OTO became the organizer of the biggest seminar of Freemasons in Sweden 2 years ago. He put together a big seminar of regular Freemasons. The regular Freemasons are supposed to be Christians. How is this possible to be organized by a guy from the OTO? Don't they see that there is Satanists taking over the whole show? So there is people who are deliberately acting in a naive way, not wanting to understand that their organization is completely infiltrated left, right and center by the Satanists, and that they are giving in to these Luciferian powers. Absolutely. Inside the lodges of the OTO, if you are in Moscow, in Russia, you have the poster of George W. Bush. You have one of Satan next to him, and they say, "Hi Satan, hi Bush." For them, it's like they're very happy that George Bush is such an evil person. For Satanists, the core of it is to create an empire. That's why we used to have this thing, Heil Imperium. We used to go around our lodges, and people used to salute us with this Heil Imperium, because the P2 became like an imperium. It was such a big myth. Even if the lodge was destroyed by the scandal, the surviving elements and the Committee of Monte Carlo were very powerful, and the P2 still has a big name. So a lot of people are involved with it.
Mm-hmm. This documentary would be just for ordinary folks who might never have heard of, like propaganda doua. Maybe just shortly just tell what it is, and then we can continue another thing.
Sure. Propaganda Due was a lodge that was born already at the time of Garibaldi as a lodge propaganda. It was an old lodge, a lodge that existed for over 100 years, and that in the 60s came under the control of Licio Gelli. It was given to him by the Americans of the CIA, so he could control through this lodge all the VIP people in Italy who didn't want their name on the official Masonic list, but propaganda was always a reserved list, so the members were never made public. And the P2 Lodge was also, for that reason, they were members also of the Ecclesia Lodge. Ecclesia Lodge is the lodge inside the Vatican, because there is lodges of Freemasons inside the Vatican called Lodge Ecclesia. And P2 had many members of Lodge Ecclesia amongst them, and it functioned as a trade union between the Jesuits, the New World Order plans that they had, the Americans, CIA, and their own plans for the Gladio, the fighting of communism, and so in a way it functioned as a lodge that was supposed also to do propaganda. So you had journalists, you had writers, musicians, people from the world that could promote what they had, whatever was the topic they wanted to promote.
Still functions today.
Functions under different names, yeah, definitely. And the Monte Carlo Lodge is only one of the many, even if it's probably the most important, because Monte Carlo is a place where you do business in Monaco. And the fact that the Prince of Monaco is part of it, and that they have the monopoly over the whole people from the secret police in Italy, from France, they all go there and they take the instructions. Like the P2 used to be, in a way, irregular. It was irregular until 1975, till the middle of the 70s, and it was actually considered irregular until the beginning of the 80s, when they discovered that the scandal erupted. But that was a lodge belonging to the Grand Orient of Italy, who is an official body, recognized worldwide. But nowadays there is a lot of other obediences. Also Licio Gelli still goes on. There is a lot of other Freemasons in Italy that have a lot of other obediences and are independent, and they don't give their list to the police or to any other, out officially. So they are secret societies, definitely.
We also had members all around the world, especially in Latin America.
Yeah.
Could you, and connections to many of the extreme right-wing groups over there.
Yeah, that was well before my time in the P2. That was in the late 70s, beginning of the 80s, also with Peron, with in Argentina. Well, I don't know that much apart from recently.
It was before.
It was before my time, but recently it's been still surfacing in Tribunal in Italy, still last year, this case, because obviously Licio Gelli has always been untouched by it. Untouched because he's protected by the Vatican, he's a Knight of Malta. This mom also played a particular role in the P2. The P2 functioned a bit like a lodge of SMOM, of Sovereign Military Order of Malta members, like an elite. And the same happened in Argentina. They were all part of the Knights of Malta, so they were all, at the end of the day, under the Vatican. And the Vatican was controlling them all, through the Knights of Malta. And also in Argentina that happened. I can tell you that what happened also recently is that the regular Grand Lodge of England, that was formed also by me in 2005 with the P2 and with Rui Alexander Gabiro, has now formed a new obedience in Argentina with Carlos Pacchioni, and they are in the process of creating a whole new network in the whole of South America. And this whole new network that is creating new Grand Lodges worldwide is an irregular network. The Grand Lodges, the regular Grand Lodges, like the United Grand Lodge of England, say they are irregular, they are renegades. Why they are irregular? Because the official Grand Lodges already want to distance themselves from whatever might happen next to these lodges, because they are connected with the secret services, with the Illuminati, with all kinds of things, So they don't want to have anything to do with these lodges. But they're expanding in South America, and Argentina is one of their new avenues.
So,
and this is the old network of Licio Gelli that is coming back together. It's new people, young people, but still the same old crooks on top. What happened was that Licio Gelli had expanded his P2 association after the middle of the 70s. The P2 was dismantled as an official lodge, became itself an independent body, and established itself as a Grand Lodge with 12 divisions. And the most important was obviously the Monte Carlo Committee, but the other ones, when they started to persecute the P2, they give 900. They gave more than 900 names, but only the names they wanted to give, not all the names, because the police arrived in Villa Vanda where the names were kept, but they were only kept certain names inside the safe. They were not all the names of because the P2 counted probably around 2,500 members, and the ones who were exposed were only 900.
Among them, Silvio Berlusconi.
Among them, Silvio Berlusconi. Silvio Berlusconi, and not only Silvio Berlusconi, but many of the people that we find with Silvio Berlusconi now in charge of power in Italy, and in charge also with TV stations, like Maurizio Costanzo, for example, is this famous journalist, and he was a member of the P2. Gervaso, who is also a journalist still with Berlusconi, and he was also a member of the P2. And we can say that P2 functioned like a lodge until officially under the Grand Orient of Italy until 1975. After it became a renegade lodge, until the police didn't then in 1981 take all the names from Villa Vanda, and then they started to really persecute also the remaining this lodge. It was illegal in a way, because it was not even anymore connected with the regular Masonic obedience. But at the beginning, the Grand Orient of Italy had given Licio Gelli a specific possibility, that was to develop his lodge outside of the borders of a regular Masonic obedience. He could just come to you if you were a famous person with a Masonic sword and make you a Mason on the spot. So he had an office in Rome, at the Grand Hotel in Rome, in which people were just coming upstairs, getting initiated by the sword and entering the network without really doing all the Masonic rituals and stuff. The ritual was not very important for Licio Gelli. It was more important who you were. I was, for example, an important person in the music business, in person also in charge of. I was initiated in various Masonic lodges. I was important for them for a specific reason, that my family bloodline was also connected to the Queen Mother. They could trace from me a long line of Freemasons and of knighthoods, and members of knighthoods, and so for them it was a privilege to have me amongst them and to get me involved with all this dirty business, if you want to say. Let me call it this way.
Could you tell about Licio Gelli as a person? I heard he started his career as an informant for the Gestapo.
Yes, Licio Gelli. Licio Gelli, interesting enough, is a person I met very early in my age. I was 18, I was working for a club near Arezzo called the Crocodile in Monte San Savino. There were some people that were involved with him, who knew about me and my family and who I was. And my grandfather was a senator and a member of the Masonic Lodge, so well known to them. And I had the opportunity to meet Licio Gelli once for this reason. On a Sunday, he used to go to his son, who used to have a shop, antique shop. And so I got to meet him, and I got to meet the kind of people around him, and I can say that they are all very much working for the American intelligence, and totally still now under their control, but at the same time working for the Vatican, for the Knights of Malta, who seem to control the American intelligence themselves.
Okay. So, like fascism and CIA has a long history.
Fascism and CIA has a long history, also the Nazis has a long history with the CIA, but as I said, the Knights of Malta seems to be the people you should study a bit more if you want to discover about the long lines of traitors that we have in our intelligence communities.
Okay. So this
traitors, because they're not working for our countries, they're working at the end of the day for the Vatican, for the Zionists also. There is a connection with Licio Gelli, especially in the Mossad, which was a connection alive until recently. This connection because the P2 used to also work for Mossad in Italy during the strategy of tension period. So here we have a book called The Chicken Kabbalah. The Chicken Kabbalah is written by another infamous member of the Illuminati, the Grand Secretary of the Ordo Templi Orientis Caliphate US Grand Lodge, Lommailo Duquette. And we can read what he wrote at the beginning here as a dedication to me, to my brother Leo. Together we will rule the world. Yes, this is Lommailo Duquette, this figure that actually lectures very much in the United States about Egyptian ritual magic, and all this is very popular now in the New Age circles. This is what worries me. The New Age circles now are the most influenced by satanic groups, and they are really doing a lot to take this market. If you want one step more thrill, you have to enter these secret societies like Amorc, the OTO, the various Martinist societies, the various Rosicrucian societies, Lectorium Rosicruciano, whatever that is, and all these secret societies that want to say to mankind they have an answer that other people can't give them. They have the exclusive answer for the future of the world. They think that they can run things with this ritual magic. They give themselves very much to these powers, demonic forces. That's why they are very much involved in ritual magic. That's why Lommailo Duquette came here in Norway in August 2001, July-August 2001, and he was guested by the local OTO, and he held a meeting of Illuminati out here in the woods in Oslo. And Carl Abramson, the famous Satanist, came, a friend of Anton LaVey, and other people from various OTOs, also from Finland, and they did a meeting on just how things were developing, and already there I sensed some very strange thing, because one of the guys came up to me, this John Farset, and said, what about Osama bin Laden? He's the new Saladin, what do you think of that? And 1 month after, there was the 11th of September. So even at the lower ranks of the Illuminati, people who only were third degrees had the knowledge of prior to 9/11 what will happen.
Please, could you describe the Illuminati power structure?
The Illuminati power structure is taking as a base structured with the Freemasonry, which is at the lower level. The outer level is the profane world. Then you have Freemasonry, the Rotary Clubs, who are a recruiting center for Freemasonry, the Lions Club. And then you have, on top of that, the Martinists and the Rosicrucian societies within Freemasonry that are at the top of this pyramid. And within the Rosicrucian societies, you have the Magoses, the magicians, the Illuminati, that are driving this pyramid down with all their rites and their appendant bodies. In the music industry you have artists that are co-opted inside the Illuminati. I had my personal experience also directly with Madonna, who seems to be in a league with Rui Gabirro, the infamous Duke of Gabinda, and Madonna has also this passion for Kabbalahs and things, and she wants to also be part of the Freemasons, so she wanted to establish her own lodge apparently. And Madonna also is very intrigued with all these things, but she's used by the people behind her who are making a lot of money through her and using her as an agent and a high priestess. For example, the Temple of Psychic Youth with Genesis Peorage is connected directly with Anton LaVey, with Church of Satan, and they have been key figures in the spreading of the acid house seal, the Temple of Psychic Youth. And then people like me, who were connected with the Vatican, with the secret societies in Rome, came into the picture with Male Production, was our first company, which involved people like Francesco Furlotti, which is a very well-known character in Rome and in Italy. And he's connected with secret societies at a very high level. He's a very high-level member of Opus Dei these days. And with him I started my career into making also records. Male Production, which means evil production, was a record label also. Not only a rave symbol and rave concept that we were bringing to the people, because every week we were bringing to Rome some of the most avant-garde acts, from Derek May to Underground Resistance to Prodigy. For the first time I got them to play live in Italy. The Prodigy is a typical example of satanic brainwashing. These people and their manager, Champion, was really a guy who is a heck of a Satanist, I can tell you. And we had some good times together, but I can tell you these people are totally out of it, completely bananas. But they were very much into being blessed by the Pope after I brought them for the first concert in Italy, so I had to leave them with all their instruments in St. Peter's Square, the Prodigy. I left them there and they were blessed by the Pope.
So in general, in techno scene and also like in late 60s, like a hippie movement, there's a lot of like occult involvement.
Yes, there is occult involvement. Here in Norway, for example, the OTO has been actively involved in the music scene through me, for other people, and we even at one point had a club called Kill Your Ego, and we were in charge of quite a big scene. And I saw also developing in other countries the same thing. The various secret societies were always in control of the key things: the music, the drugs, the rest of the whole thing. You understand? Yeah. Also, the drugs go through some of the secret societies, and because they have connections with the military, connections with the world of the mafia, like in Italy, and a lot of these big parties we could do in Italy was because we could recycle money from the mafia. That was one of our jobs. We could recycle money and do big parties and have incredible guests.
Launder the money.
Launder the money. And at the same time help the local politicians with their elections, propaganda. All this was very important for them. No, I found myself involved, this old Jewish family is connected to the P2 and connected to Giulio Andreotti, and for a period of time I was running clubs also with them, with these powerful Mossad agents, and they were supporting my lodges, my activities. They were giving me also the locations, and I could establish my first lodge in Rome, Milator, back in 1993, thanks to them. Well, I can tell you that it was definitely the Illuminati behind the Holocaust and behind the creation of Israel state by Zionist agents who have managed to convince the rest of the world that this Holocaust happened. And it actually happened, unfortunately, but who ended up in these concentration camps? The rebels of the Jewish society, a lot of the rebels of the Jewish society, and also the communists, and the people who were not really they were not really the average Jewish believer. You had at that time in a society like Israel, no possibility of establishing a country if you didn't create this whole havoc, and Hitler functioned as a puppet in their hands. Really, the whole Nazi movement from the start was created, the Two-Leg-Gesellschaft, by Rudolf von Sembotendorf in Turkey, thanks to sponsorship that came from the Order of the Rosary, an order that was in the hands of Jewish from Turkey. So the first money for the establishment of the Nazi party actually came also secretly from the Jewish. And this also is connected with the Illuminati in Switzerland. Metzger, his spiritual father was Frater Lazarus Pincus, and this Frater Lazarus Pincus was basically a Zionist member of the B'nai Brit. B'nai Brit is this exclusive lodge only for Jewish people that acts for defending Zionism worldwide and meets regularly in every city in the world. As I said, the Zionists needed to create this situation, and they were warned even by people inside the Illuminati that creating a Jewish state would be really the beginning of the end of the world.
Zionism is like a political movement, and Judaism is like
Zionism is not only a political movement, it's also a religious movement, and it involves the core of the Israeli state, because it's at the foundation of the Israeli state. So it's we can say that they manipulate really everything. The media in America, the Zionists have control over Hollywood, over New York, and at the same time they collaborate with the Vatican and they work together for the establishment of this new world order. People don't want to accept that the Zionists actually work with the Vatican. This is something unprecedented. They think there is a conflict between them, but it's not like that in reality.
So the Zionists...
And I experienced that from my days working closer with the Mossad, because I saw how they operate and I saw how they were working with the Vatican. So I know the level of intimacy between the two organizations.
So the Zionists are basically manipulating also the majority of Jews, or like Jewish general population. So.
Absolutely. Unfortunately, the Jewish have a lot of good sides, but they can't expose them to the rest of the world. They can't be themselves, because they have this conflict between themselves. They have to act as Jew people. They have to accept the state of Israel, and the state of Israel becomes for them this curse. Unfortunately, leads them to the wrong path. For me, I was living in Rome. Rome is a city that for 2,000 years has the oldest Jewish community, and at the same time is the capital, this world center of Christianity. But this relationship with the Jews in the Empire of Rome goes back a long time ago. Since the time of Christ himself, there were certain families and certain Jews who had a very good relationship with Rome. And still nowadays, those families, in fact, John Paul II called them the oldest brothers, our oldest brothers. He also made an effort to bring closer Jewish and Christians in during his time in office as a pope. Then you have the fake threats of people like Fidel Castro or Fidel Castro and Chavez. Fidel Castro is a Freemason. There is Freemasons in Cuba. Cuba is very well known for its Masonic lobby that includes about 20,000 members, and has always lived alongside with the communists, and live alongside with the communists in a way that never created a problem. So for many people might be a surprise that in a communist society like Cuba there is Freemasonry, but that's the truth, that's how it is. And Fidel Castro was made a 33 degree like Che Guevara just before the revolution started, because they were part of this changing establishment that was always behind, dictated by the Illuminati. Chavez also is another fake character which seems to want to be on a war against Bush, but in reality is selling oil to the United States and making a lot of money and being part of the same conspiracy.
So you're saying like Chavez and Fidel Castro are working like consciously to achieve this new world order?
Yeah, they are part of it like everybody else, because the new world order is about making money. And it's about people wanting to be together for money reasons, and money reasons are reasons that are well above any other reasons for these people. They were Freemasons. Even Lenin himself was initiated before going to bring the last part of the revolution to the Russian people. This whole connection with the Germans, with the German Kaiser, is connected also to the Illuminati, and also the financing of this revolution was connected to the Illuminati. In Africa, connected to the witch doctors, connected to black magic, which we can describe as animistic in nature. Voodoo practices in Africa have all sorts of secret societies. You have the secret society of the leopard, of the panthers, of the whatever animals. They base their secret society usually on an animal, on a sacred animal, and they have the witch doctor as the head of this secret society. They're very vicious and very much playing with black magic. That's why we have all these wars in Africa. Africa is full of black magic, and in the hands of also Freemasons who don't have any pity upon the African population.
Okay, and Christian attributed as the one who basically like set in motion the colonialization and destruction of Africa is Cecil Rhodes, and I understand he had also like links into the secret societies.
Yes,
Freemasonry
and slavery had close links with Freemasonry. That was acknowledged even recently by Freemason students and Freemason connoisseurs themselves. I mean, they don't deny that these links exist with the creation of slavery. But you have to understand that slavery was created at the beginning because of one man who said to a king that he knew of some creatures in a very distant land who were inferior species, and that man was Ignazio Loyola, the founder of the Jesuits. So the Jesuits are behind the first slavery ever. Priory of Zion has become very popular, but nobody knows the real story of the Priory of Zion, of Plantar St. Clair and his various secret service people that were working for him, part of the Vichy movement, the right-wing movement in France, and involved also Gino Sandri, who was the secretary of Plantar St. Clair, and this Giampiero Giudicelli, who, for example, is one of the creators of this NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, free school in France, in Nice, and with the Marco Paré. And these are people who we should be watching, because they represent the typical example of the right-wing Illuminati extremists that are manipulating the scene and manipulating also the academic circles.
On another subject, that you have mentioned that you have people in Freemasonic circles, at least in some levels, had a quick knowledge of 9/11.
Yes, I have confirmed that there was this knowledge both in the circle of people that it is in the Monte Carlo committee, and they had prior knowledge. But even until recently I had a chat with Grandmaster and Grandmaster is a person also that knew about 9/11 prior to 9/11. He had received a warning from the FBI that the CIA would do this act of terror, and so Freemasons knew even outside of the P2 Masonic circle that there was most Grandmaster, like Grandmaster, this friend of mine who is the Grandmaster of an obedience in Italy. He knew about it. He knew about 9/11 and what will happen. Unfortunately, these people don't want to speak out. Otherwise, things will be very different.
Can you tell me about the Bohemian Grove?
The Bohemian Grove is headed by the Hillybillies. The Hillybillies are a group created inside the Shriners, and so there is an elite that is picked up from the elite of the Freemasons, which is the Shriners pick up people from the 30th to the 33rd degree of the Scottish Rite. Then you become a Shriner, and then once you become a Shriner you get to other side orders like the Hillybillies, and you participate to Bohemian Grove. Moloch is the cult that they follow in Bohemian Grove. The cult of Moloch is a very ancient cult and goes back to Babylonian times, but it's been practiced by this elite with the sacrifice of little babies, with what is called the cremation care, which is, some say, only a symbolic act, but is to give your own child to sacrifice for this genie who is called Moloch, which is a very dangerous entity working with Satan.
So what about the Bilderberg group?
The Bilderberg group is another club created amongst these clubs, like, you have the elite meeting various levels, and they have created this Bilderberg group in order to have meetings and discuss the balance of powers in the various continents and the various countries, always connected with the economics, connected with the money, connected with the various deals they're doing, military and also political.
So it connects to Freemasonry through that.
Sure, but the majority of people have membership in all these various societies because they all lead one to the other. So the participation to Lodge of Freemasons might not mean anything, but the fact that you are a member of the specific lodge, which is a particular lodge, and the membership which is restricted probably and very elitarian of certain lodges, and also certain secret societies and other appendant bodies of Freemasonry, are they called. Once you get initiated into the high degrees of Freemasonry, you have the appendant bodies, which are other societies with other degrees and other traditions. But everything is on top in the West, controlled by the true and invisible order of the Rose Cross, the Rosicrucians, who are said to be the true Illuminati, and also are part of the Martinist, who is another group of initiates which has control over Freemasonry. And the Martins, for example, at the superior incognitive level, at the 4th degree, they get to meet with members of the clergy of the Vatican and have close contact with other religious figures, especially amongst Christianity.
Does the Illuminati have some kind of leader?
I would say that one of the most powerful people is the father of George Bush, George H. Bush. Father is one of the most important figures. He's not only known in the Scottish Rite of Freemasonry, but also in the Skull and Bones, in the Illuminati. He's been head of the CIA for many years. He was in charge of people like Clinton. Clinton is itself controlled by the Bushes and by the CIA, and that's why Hillary Clinton is just another puppet slave of this new world order.
Okay.
And she's an Illuminist, and she's a member of the Illuminati. Actually, Giuliano Di Bernardo confirmed this recently.
That reminds me, how about how are women, viewed in these circles of the Illuminati and in the Freemasons?
Well, you see, they are viewed as second-class citizens always because these secret societies have always at the top a male chauvinist way of seeing things.
So could this be the reason for lower wages for women and the unequal position of women to this day in society in general?
Obviously, regular Freemasonry doesn't accept women. And you have then Masonry open to women. You have also Le Droit to Men that actually has a head who is a Finnish guy, I think, up until recently. And the Droit to Men, for example, mixes women with men. But because there is the necessity for men to control these women, especially the most clever one, and give them and put them in these lobbies of Illuminati in some way or another. They function also as high priestess. High priestess means to have a specific role within a temple, like the Skull and Bones in Yale University. And to be the high priestess means to be serving also sexually these people for their own sexual magic.
You've started to reveal these things due to your conversion to Islam. Could you tell something about that?
Yes, in October 2003, when I started to rebel against the Ordo Templi Orientis, Illuminati, and me and Paul Bralovic, who is the son-in-law of Rauf Butrus-Ghali, is basically connected to this big family, the Butrus-Ghali, which we were cooperating for this event in 2004 in Egypt. And when I went down to Egypt to visit them in November 2003, I converted to Islam after I met a Sufi mystic called Dr. Safwat, who is also known for having exorcised the United Nations building. And I followed Dr. Safwat, who I discovered to be a student of Said Nursi. And when I was in Egypt, I also made a prayer. I wanted to meet the woman of my life, and I prayed that I find a Muslim woman. And in fact, when I came back to Norway, I found what is now my wife, Fatma Suslu, and she's also a student of Letters of Illumination of Said Nursi, which is this important Anatolian Muslim thinker who is also preaching for moderate Muslims all over the world at this time, and now his follower, who is his disciple and devoted man throughout the world, is Fethullah Gulen, which is this movement. This guy who has this movement all over the world, counts about 2 million members. And but by pure, it's not obviously coincidence, because the Illuminati, people like me, don't believe in coincidence. So if we make a prayer in front of the pyramids, that prayer is bound to happen, and that's what happened with me finding my wife, and finding also in the faith of Islam the answer to the real nature of Jesus. Jesus the man, and not the God, as it was implemented in the Council of Nicaea in the year 325 after Christ, by this Council of mafiosi, of crooks held by the Emperor Constantine, who ended up burning also lots of the Gospels that were not accepted by them. So my conversion to Islam brought me to the knowledge of the Sufi mysticism and people like Jalaluddin Rumi, who spent his life for 800 years ago in the search of love, true love, and he disseminated. He was known amongst Jewish, Christians, Muslims as a man of peace and as a great poet. Jalaluddin Rumi is now celebrated this year with a special dedication that the UNESCO has made to him and has dedicated to him a year to this special Sufi mystic known as Jalaluddin Rumi. And I follow Sufi mysticism because I believe that the chains of prayer are very effective in fighting the black magic of the evil side of the Illuminati. And I went to be exorcised also a couple of times by this Muslim exorcists that really know how to expel the genies and these entities that they use in these black magic rituals. When I left the Illuminati, obviously these people have cursed me and have operated black magic against me, so I need equal force of white magic to fight them.
Can you describe these prayer chains? Or?
Yes, Sufi prayer chain is called a tariq. And in this tariq, basically you have a master Sufi and a chain of people who are praying, and the master Sufi obviously is a special person that but all the people in this prayer chain are reciting specific times in the day and specific times during the course of the year certain prayers in order to expel these demonic forces.
So religion has given a lot to you.
Well, religion is very important when you have to fight something that is not only physical but is also metaphysical, and these people are using black magic and evil against me, so I have to also be able to operate in both the visible and the invisible way against them. We should know our enemy. Because if we don't have dialogue with people, how can we get to have a better civilization? A better civilization has to come because of our intent to get together and work all together for a common goal for humanity under love. Love is the most important thing that we need to always focus on, and not hate. Unfortunately, a lot of these conspiracy theories tend to focus a lot on hate and not so much on love and on the positive side of things.
The conspiracy research field, like that, there's a whole field. Do you feel there's like disinformation? Who can we trust on this subject?
Well, nowadays, for example, we have these big conspiracy theories: Alex Jones, David Icke. Everybody's pushing on a certain topic. They rarely touch the whole spectrum of how things are really going. Alex Jones never mentions the Vatican and never mentions the Zionists. David Icke never goes out of his reptilian theory. The other guys maybe have some theory from ancient Atlantis or whatever. And so, because the conspiracy field is becoming silently very popular, I didn't expose myself because the conspiracy field was popular, but just for a necessity I had to expose my problem. And once I did that, I'm happy with it. I don't have the necessity to make money writing books or selling videotapes or videos or selling material concerning what I'm doing. I want to promote, if possible, the Tour of Hope, which is a concept born out of my idea together with collaborators here in Norway, and we have formed a committee. There is various committees that are being formed worldwide. I hope more will be formed. There is no specific requirement. You just have to have 6 friends and start your own committee of hope, discussing and trying to bring forward the light to people who have never heard about these topics, because the majority of people out there has never heard about what's happening with the control of their minds, with the control of their being, and they are quite happy with being fed their usual lies by the state, which at the end of the day will be to make the majority of people think they have freedom, but in reality they are in a prison. And we know that nowadays people like me are a minority, but also are in deep threat if we continue to talk like this, because we don't know for how long they will let us speak against them. And to actually say that they are doing the wrong thing, for them is already, from an insider like me, is already something of very particular for them, very also against their own rules, because we are not supposed to talk about what's going on inside these lodges and inside these temples of Freemasonry.
But like what you outline here is like a huge structure, like, and it's apparently it has like been going on for so long time without like the general population knowing about it. Like how do they manage to keep their secrets and keep this thing like silent? Is there like blackmailing going on inside the lodges? Yes, or whatever?
Obviously it's very difficult to live with this structure even at the lowest level, because even as soon as you get involved and you give your oath to the brethren, you are part of a structure that shouldn't be betrayed in any way. And so the betrayal brings the person to be thrown out of his work, kicked out of his work, kicked out of his friends' circles, and finding himself isolated. So it's very difficult for people to walk out of these societies they belong to, because they create their whole life around them. The whole family structure is involved with it. So it's very difficult to walk out of the structure. To my knowledge, I'm the first person who has deliberately walked out of all these societies, including the Fraternitas Rosicruciana Antigua, the Ordo Templi Orientis, the Monte Carlo Lodge of the Propaganda too, and the various secret societies I was involved at one point or the other during my administration of certain lodges, like the Aula Lucis Cagliostro in London, which I was director of the Aula for 3 years, and we accomplished many experiments in the occult in this lodge, and also masses were secretly celebrated in this lodge, Catholic masses, because there was a connection also with the Catholic priest and with the Opus Dei.
So there will be like many people who will review this information, and especially if they are unfamiliar with these kind of subjects, they will still dismiss everything, like the whole concept of New World Order and conspiracy to bring forth the New World Order. There will be people who will dismiss it as impossible. Like, what would you have to say to?
Well, good for them. I hope they will live a nice life without having any problems and without being in any way manipulated by the New World Order. But this is nearly impossible, because everybody has media, everybody nowadays has access to the internet, and everybody is manipulated by the Big Brother and by this big giant monster that the Christians call the beast of the prophecies.
In response to this information that you bring out, what could be done or what should be done?
Well, first of all, they should finish with this show in Israel, in Palestine. It's the whole show with the Middle Eastern conflict, which is sponsored by foreign intelligence agency to create just havoc. I hope this will end at some point, because it's bringing a lot of sadness and a lot of conflict amongst people. And at the same time, I wish that in a contemporary world, the people will be more aware of what is going on around them, and not to dismiss these secret societies as an invention of pure fiction or fantasy, but as something concrete that is actually deciding for their lives every day. And I hope that they realize sooner or later that if you don't open your eyes to this and you don't do something, you will be suddenly microchipped and taken over by the beast.